Good morning. I know I said I was out of guns in my collection that I'd be showing you in the mornings, but I was talking to a friend of mine and he said, "Hey, Tom, I've got a few guns if you want to use them to show." And I said, "Sure, I'll do that because I really enjoy looking up history of the guns and so forth." Um, Today, what I've got is a French Mas 1936. The This is the French Mas 1936. They were made from 1936 till 1952. They were initially designed to be a backup gun for the rear echelon and so forth. And then, World War II broke out, and all that stopped. They were supposed to be used as a backup gun to help bridge the gap between the Lebels and the French gun company, and while they developed the semi-automatic to come up with the rest of the world that had semi-automatics. But anyway, this is it. This is it. Um, at the time of the invasion of France, they only had 250,000 of these. So the French were using their older guns to fight against the Germans, and because the Germans they just overwhelmed them, and that's where this gun came in. And if you've heard the expression, buy a French gun, it's never been fired and only dropped once. Well, this is the one that they were talking about. Was this one here? You can say what you want, but the bore of this gun looks brand new, and a brand new bore for a gun from 1936. That's that's unheard of from the old rifles that I have anyway. And this was made in 1937, according to the, the serial number. It was 1937. It's in 7.5 by 54 French. That's the what they call the ammo. Again, this has a butt plate. It has a weird, and we'll talk about that, a weird shaped handle for the bolt. Got a magazine, holds 5 rounds. Up here, this is an unusual sight that I see here. Well, first of all, the wood on here is put on, and the soldiers were forbidden from taking the wood off because it's held on by little screws, and they said that the soldiers would never be able to get it back on again. Just remembered, there's no safety. The French apparently in that time had no safeties on any of their rifles. So what the soldiers would do is they'd walk around, they'd have a full magazine of 5 rounds, and they'd leave the chamber empty because, well, they wouldn't want to shoot somebody. Up here, the front sight is sitting on this band. It's not like typically it's at the end of the barrel, but it's sitting on this band. The rear sight is like many of the others. It goes up. It's got a peep sight on it, and it goes out to 1,200 yards. Back to the band, and the band has the front sight in it. When I first saw the gun, I'd never seen one before, and I was like, "Oh man, it's got a tube magazine in it, like 22 or a 30-30 or whatever." But no, that's not it. If you press this little button, pull it out. It's the bayonet. Which is kind of a neat way of carrying the bayonet, but that's. Oh, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the uh, the floor off the magazine. Um, Mausers in general have the ability to do that. So I just took this off. There's a stop in there, so if it's empty, every time you try to close the bolt, it's going to jam on you. Some of the features that they did when they built this rifle is they borrowed from other people that were in World War I. They borrowed some of their features to put together for their rifles. If you notice, the back of the bolt looks an awful lot like the back of the Japanese bolt. And instead of going through all the elaborate stuff you have to go through, like with a Mauser, to get the firing pin out, here you just push it in, you turn it, and the firing pin should come flying out. But the firing pin, maybe this is right here. The Japanese had done this on theirs, and it is a lot easier than what you have to go through for a Mauser, say, or even an Enfield to get the firing pin out. Apparently, firing pins were easily breaking, and I always have problems getting this back. Okay, back to this here. See how it sweeps forward, which I'd never seen one of these before either. And the reason that they did that is, if you look, it's in line with the trigger. So when you're holding it, you pull trigger. So that makes it that much easier to operate and quicker for you to be able to shoot after you chamber a round. For this sling, it's got swivels on the sides, which once again, if anybody's ever carried a rifle with swivels on the side, it's just so much easier. You don't get banged up, your shoulder doesn't get banged up, and the back of your head doesn't get banged up. This is just a lot easier to do that. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing here. No safety was originally designed. During World War II, the production for this stopped, obviously, in 1940, when the Germans were able to invade and take over France, and France surrendered. And the Germans used these guns for their own devices during the war. And after the war was over in 1945, the French went right back to building these, and then eventually they came up with the semi-automatic version of this gun. So I think it's a 48. I think it's an M48, and this is a nice gun. I haven't fired it. Obviously, I don't have the ammo for it. You can buy the ammo for it, or if you're so inclined to do your reloading, then you could reload your own rounds for it. But I mean, the chamber's nice here, and the bore is, like I said, is like a brand new. It's like a brand new gun inside there. So anyway, trying to think of anything else. The stacking peg. They would take 3 rifles and stack them together. Probably like for those in the military in boot camp, we did similar things with our rifles, and outside the chow hall or wherever we went, we stacked our rifles so that they would stand up. Anyway, that's it, I think, for the MAS. I'd love to have an MAS. Somebody has one they want to donate to me, I'll take it. But I'll give it a good home. But anyway, here you are. All right. Well, thank you very much. We have an American rifle tomorrow, an American classic. It's not an M1, unfortunately, but it's up there as far as that goes. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.